Zoran Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York. He's lapping the field. This has been over for a while, and it continues to be. Andy Cuomo is just not going to be enough. And, boy, get ready for a reimagined New York with Mamdani. This is a fun little snippet. Him with Senator Krakajawea sitting Indian style, of course, how else would they? Interviewing a little kid on what this little kid would do if he was mayor of New York, and see if you can distinguish it from what Zoran Mamdani is running to do.
If you were the leader of New York City for a day, what would you change?
I would change that people not getting to have what they want, and if they don't have much money, I would change that into that they could, because they need that money to buy it.
Exactly. Boy, I mean, perfectly crystallize Zoran Mamdani's platform and the platform of the new Marxist Party generally. Wonderful. Criticizing capitalism, I must hasten to add, though, doesn't make you a critic of America, as Mamdani explained.
The United States, you have benefited from this country. This is what your critics say. But you don't support the system, the economic system that perhaps you benefited from. Is that right?
I love this country, and I'm also a New Yorker who has loved this city. And one of the things that I love most about the city are its parks. And its parks, and the Parks Department was founded by a socialist mayor of New York City, Fiorello LaGuardia. These are all parts of the same story. And the idea to simplify it as if a critique of capitalism is to be un-American, it speaks to a lack of understanding of the breadth of our history.
Socialism built New York City's parks, and it can build New York City's grocery stores, I guess. And that's before you even get into, his support for, his promotion of abolishing the police, abolishing prisons, and so on and so forth. Escape from New York. Somebody call Kurt Russell. For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity 2.0. Steve Moore, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dan. Good to be with you. Incidentally, before there was free enterprise and things like the Empire State Building, Manhattan was one just big, giant park.
Yes. So, and it can be again.
Exactly. I mean, so many people are going to leave out of New York. They won't. I guarantee you, the Empire State Building was not built by the government. So this is a very dangerous view. It is really troubling to me that it is so widely held by young people. You saw I'm going to connect the dots between that idiot statement by that woman that you just played and the test scores. If you saw that our test scores in America in our schools are lower than they've ever been. Math scores are lower than ever. Yeah. We would think things would be improving. So this is a function of our school system not teaching kids even the most basic things about how the way the world works. And, look, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago on your show, but I'll repeat it, that if Mamdani wins, then Wall Street will no longer be in Manhattan. Wall Street will be in Miami, or Wall Street will be in Dallas, or it will be in Tampa, or will move out. And it's already moved out. I don't know if you've been to Wall Street lately, but it is nothing like what it was 25 or 30 or 40 years ago. So, New Yorkers, if you vote for Mamdani, you are voting for a nail in the coffin of America's greatest city, although I love Chicago.
Yeah, well, it's the same deal with the trading floors in Chicago. They're teetering too with the way the city is going. I wanted to get to this other news. This we talked to your colleague Phil Kerpen a little bit about this earlier in the week, but now we get the data that slight revision to the number of jobs created basically in the last year of the Biden administration. 1 million of those jobs, about 911,000, that were reportedly created between March of 24 and March of 25. 911,000 jobs overestimated. The revision down of 900,000 jobs. Yes.
A couple things here, Dan. One is that if you look at now over the last 2.5 years, about the last 30 months, we just came out with an analysis showing that they overestimated the number of jobs by closer to 2.5 to 3 million. And if you're making errors in estimates, and look, when you make estimates and predictions, you're always going to have some errors, but you would expect those errors to be random. In other words, sometimes you're too high, sometimes you're too low. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that on average, then the error should be 0. Instead, all of the errors under Biden were in one direction, and those errors were, oops, we overestimated the number of jobs in the economy by 2.5 million. Now, people can make their own assessment of whether they think that was politically motivated or not.
No.
The fact that this wasn't exactly, they would never try to skew the numbers in their favor. So this is but there's another problem here. If you look at the latest report that came out on Friday, there's 2 surveys. I don't want to get too much in the weeds here, but they do a survey of businesses. How many people are you hiring? And then they do a survey of households. Are you working? How many people in your household are working? That's how we come up with these numbers. Well, one of the surveys showed that only, 25,000 jobs were somewhere in the 20,000 range were created, which is a crappy number, right? That's a very disappointing number. But the other survey, the survey of households, showed there were 290,000 more people working. Huh? I mean, how do you square those two? So in other words, it's like the scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz. Remember, so which way should I go? And he points in both directions. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are dealing with numbers that are completely unreliable. And that's why Trump fired the head of the BLS. And that's why we need to get somebody like E.J. Antoni over there. And I think E.J. will be confirmed, and I think he will clean this mess up. All we want is accuracy. We want reliability, and we're not getting those at all from the Bureau. 2.5 million. How can you be that wrong?
No, it's a problem. I mean, not because, as we talked about with Kirpin, as you know, it's just there's movement of billions, if not trillions of dollars based on this monthly number. So it shouldn't be relied on, but at the same point, it matters. So.
Well, by the way, Dan, if I may add to this, that the government would never skew these numbers. Oh yeah, look at the census. Right. Illinois probably had 1 or 2 extra congressional seats because the numbers were so unreliable, and maybe I don't know, they can't count in Illinois or something like that. But Florida and Texas probably lost 2 or 3 congressional seats, and Illinois got an extra seat. New York probably got 2 extra seats. California got two extra seats. That is a huge impact.
Well,
my gosh, we're trying.
Yeah, Illinois lost a seat, and it should have lost 2. But
they should have lost 2,
yes,
exactly.
Right, yes.
So and people lied on how many people live in that house. 8 people live over there. So my point is that so many of the numbers that government is generating now are inaccurate and skewed, and that's a big problem. We can't count anymore in Washington.
What about these numbers? Because these stand to reason. Teen unemployment by state, the blue states with the highest state minimum wage have shockingly the highest average unemployment among those aged 16 to 19. Yep. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, too. It stands to reason, but should we believe those numbers?
Look, there's no question that if you look at the states with really high minimum wages, and I don't recall what the minimum wage is in Illinois, but I believe it's 15. So the national minimum wage is like $7.50. So you're like double so what happens is when you raise the minimum wage, the people who are most victimized by that are the people who are teenagers. So, I, as your listeners know, I grew up in the Chicago area. One of my first jobs was working as an Andy Frayne usher. I don't even know if they have Andy Frayne ushers anymore.
Yeah.
I used to
go back.
Games and, I went to White Sox games. I used to park cars, for weddings and things like that. And my point is that, I think back then we were getting $2.20 an hour or something like that. But what happens when you raise the minimum wage, then all of a sudden, the teenagers just aren't working because they can't produce $15 an hour of output. So you can't pay somebody more than they're producing for you. And so the high unemployment rate for teens in these states is a direct result of the minimum wage. And I've said this on your show a lot, but I want to repeat it. One of the most important jobs you ever have in your life is your first job. Do you remember your first job, Dan?
Yeah, caddying. Chicago Golf Club.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 2 bags for one.
I did 2 relative. I mean, I started when I was 11. I was like I was
Exactly.
5'2" and like 105 pounds.
Right?
But yeah, exactly. So, but I got to 2 pretty quickly.
Yeah. So the point is, you learn a lot from your first job: how to show up, how to be nice to people, how to earn a tip by providing good service and things like that. And so we're not the worst possible thing to be doing is pricing young people out of the workforce. The studies are so concrete and clear, Dan, that the earlier you start working in your life, so parents pay attention. If you got a 15 or 16 or 17-year-old at home, get them working.
Yep.
When people start working at a young age, they are more successful in their life. The evidence is incontrovertible on that.
All right. Speaking of playing well with others, the story about Scott Bessent and Bill Pulte. I mean, did you have to break up this almost fight? Did you see the story? Bessent and
I did see the story.
Bessent and Pulte. But Bessent essentially said to Pulte, according to Politico, "I'm going to punch you in your effing face," because apparently he accused Pulte of talking bad about him to Trump, and he wanted to take it. Outside this club in D.C. And then they're not getting along. What's going on there?
Yes. Sounds like a little Game of Thrones there, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know the backstory of that one. I did see the story, and I do know Scott Bessent. And look, Scott is one of the most important advisors to Trump, and he's been one of the soundest advisors for Trump. And so we want to make sure.
Is Scott Bessent going to have a red wedding within the administration? I mean, you better watch your back, Moore.
But look, there is a lot of infighting going on, because the way the White House works is, if you want to have policy established, if you want to make a policy, you get in the Oval Office. I mean, all the policy is out of the Oval Office. So, when I was over there 2 or 3 weeks ago, all of the cabinet secretaries are just hanging around out there, outside the Oval, hoping that Trump will call them in, because that's how you get your policies. So I think there is a bit of Game of Thrones over there.
Oh, God, that's pretty
funny.
You got
to go see the big guy if you want to make the big decisions.
Hey, all these cabinet secretaries are just loitering around. I can see Trump being annoyed by that. Go do something. Get to work. Stop waiting for me to call you in.
Exactly. Aren't you supposed to be over at the Interior?
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what we're hearing and seeing a lot of hand wringing and finger wagging about this raid and the Hyundai plant in Georgia. And Politico. The South Koreans are very upset about this, and so on and so forth. Well, but excuse me, what the hell are you doing? You don't just get to drop your workforce into a foreign country. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't like raids on plants and agriculture fields and so on. Trump has reduced the flow of illegal immigration by, as you all know, by 93%. It's been a miracle and an incredible accomplishment, and Tom Homan has done a great job. We want to get rid of the criminals. We want to get rid of the drug runners. Yes. We want to get rid of the potential terrorists and the gang members, and we've done a great job of that. Do I want to start deporting people who are in the country working? I'm not so sure about that. Now, I know that's a controversial thing to say, but what I'm in favor of is what I call pay to stay. Pay to stay. So if you are in the country illegally, but you've been working and you're not on welfare and you haven't committed any crimes, you're just working on a job, and you have an employer who can verify and validate your that you're a good person, then you should be able to pay a fine. You don't get any path to citizenship. So, coming in illegally doesn't help make you a citizen, but you get to work. Now, I know some people, that's a terrible idea, but I think we need immigrant workers. I mean, we really do. There is a shortage of workers in this country. There simply is. We have 10,000 people retiring every day. I'm a baby boomer. I was born in 1960. I just turned 65. There's 10,000 of us every day that are retiring.
Now I got to pay your Medicare too? Good. Jeez.
Yeah, my Medicare, my Social Security, all that stuff. But my point is there aren't 10,000 young people because of the demographic situation. There aren't 10,000 young people entering the workforce. So either we're going to have a big contraction of the labor force or we're going to need more foreign-born workers. It's that simple.
Well, no, I hear you. I mean, it should be done under color of law, and you're essentially providing a path to do that.
Agree.
But South Korea is really in no place to be, bitching about this because that wasn't part of the deal, man.
That's true,
right?
Yeah.
So
no, that's true, and that in that situation, probably a raid was justified. But all I'm saying is that if somebody's working in the country, you know what I want to raid? I want to raid the welfare offices.
Yeah. Okay. And,
and say, hey, you're signing up for food stamps. You're not even a citizen. Get the hell out of here.
Well, yes.
You're in public housing. Get out.
Yes. And that's supposed to be happening. The HUD is supposed to be auditing public housing projects to make sure there's not illegal aliens.
And they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I mean, if somebody wants to come here and, become productive, that's one thing. For another, it's another one for people. Come to the United States. You get free food and free rental and free this and free that. Come to New York City.
Hey, can you see if you can find Russ Vought around town somewhere and have him update the country on what's going on with Doge? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it is, and they are making savings, and it's been a productive thing, no question about it. And we've saved tens, hundreds of billions of dollars so far with those recommendations. We eliminated USAID. I was on Bill Maher this weekend. I don't know if you saw it, and the liberal I was on. Oh my God, Trump's killed millions of people because he defunded the USAID.
Were you on with Bill Gates?
Yeah, exactly. No, it was some professor, but the idea that USAID was the most corrupt organization ever, and they didn't help people come and move out of poverty. What USAID did, they were a green climate change group. Don't build a coal plant here. Don't use natural gas. Why don't you build solar fields here in the middle of Africa?
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again. Stephen, thank you for joining us.
Okay, Dan, have a great week. Take
care. You too. And you join us in the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr.